name is Jeff Bounds. I'm a SmartCode planning consultant on the Gulf Coast, and I'm working with a number of cities on the coast in SmartCode planning and in zoning reform. Right now I'm actually acting as the city planner for city of Pass Christian. I first got involved with planning after the Mississippi Renewal Forum when Andres Dwani and a number of planners came down to the Gulf Coast to basically sort of show us a better way. I have local connections to the area. My family's from here, and I basically volunteered during that effort, and then was drafted when the planners came down to later charrettes in two of the cities, first in Pass Christian, Mississippi, and then in Gulfport, Mississippi. I worked in the city of Gulfport, which is where my family lives, for about a year, putting together a sort of final calibrated version of the SmartCode, which the city actually adopted. And then I worked on a couple of the maps for some of the community areas that were hardest hit by the storm within the city of Gulfport. Gulfport adopted those maps and has gone on to adopt a few other maps. Since then, the progress in Gulfport is somewhat stalled. Basically, at this point, the administration really hasn't done a lot to implement the code, so we're sort of waiting to see what happens there. Meanwhile, in Pass Christian, I had a few friends who were working, and the effort there had gotten sort of stalled, so they asked if I would come in because I was living on the coast to spend some time working with Pass Christian. And I was initially very, very skeptical. It's a little town. It was by far the hardest hit of the towns on the coast. They had very little left of any kind of business, and most of the homes were destroyed. The residents were just amazing, though. They were adamant they wanted something better and different, and it seemed like at every turn the odds were against us. But in fact, the city of Pass Christian has clearly surpassed Gulfport in terms of adopting the SmartCode citywide. They've adopted maps for 3/4 of the city, and the final quarter of the city, the map has just been recommended for adoption by the City Planning Commission, and we'll move on to the Board of Aldermen in the next month for adoption, and we fully expect that that will be adopted as well. That will make Pass Christian the first city in Mississippi, and I think possibly in the country, the first older city to fully replace its existing zoning code with the SmartCode, a smart growth-based zoning code. I think there's a valid question now. You look, we're 3 years after Katrina and counting. This is almost the third-year anniversary, and a reasonable question that a lot of people have asked, including friends of mine who live farther away from the coast, is why has it taken so long for this kind of reform to happen, for the areas to get as far along as they have? And I think, particularly in the case of Pass Christian, which is a good example. The problem initially was, and when we were at the Renewal Forum, which was an exciting venue with 200 planners and architects from worldwide working, and the chant that everybody said was, what better time to plan than after a natural disaster? And having spent 3 years working with the community, which didn't have the staff to do any of the additional tasks they had to do in addition to just running a city day to day. I think a lot of us now have the view, there are probably a lot better times to do your planning than right after a natural disaster. Like, for instance, right before a natural disaster would be a really good time to do your planning. And unfortunately, that's not the time when it occurs to anybody. People are generally happy with the status quo, or think they are. In Pass Christian, the city itself was just so completely decimated. Getting people to show up was easy because, the people in the town think very highly of the town. They love the place and they wanted to be involved. But Southerners are sort of a hard to convince crowd sometimes. So there was a lot of effort made in order to explain, educate people, answer their questions, and give them a comfort level with SmartCode and with new urbanism. And in fact, part of the reason I think things were so successful in Pass Christian was that we actually took the time to go through the process. We had, in the summer of 2007, essentially 13 or 14 public workshop meetings where we went, every second week through the summer. We held another public workshop. We answered people's questions. We talked about specific mapping issues, and there was a lot of hand-holding involved. And, unfortunately, that's what it takes sometimes. The result, however, has been absolutely stellar. At different times I've sort of sat back and said, all of this effort and, one thing could go wrong, it'll be wasted, it will go nowhere. Will the Planning Commission actually participate? Will the Planning Commission actually, be aggressive protectors of the code, which is really the role that they play in a smart code? Will the Board of Aldermen support it when it comes to the time for it? Will the zoning board that determines variances be granting variances like Pez candy pieces? In fact, what we found after we started implementation has been absolutely just mind-bogglingly breathtaking.
Say hi real quick. How you doing?
It's been absolutely incredible. The Planning Commission in particular is sort of freed of the day-to-day requirement of looking at applications now that there's basically a CRC to do that. They've just made unbelievably brave and good decisions. I mean, they're really working in exactly the way you'd expect and hope that a planning commission could work. They're taking a very broad view, looking at the larger issues of planning. The zoning board has been very aggressive in defending the code and saying, basically, if you need a variance because your property cannot meet the letter of the code, we'll give you one, but not just because you don't happen to want to do what the code says you will do. And the Board of Aldermen has been incredibly supportive, and the mayor, in the whole process. At this point, we're far enough along. I think everybody in the city sees the potential economic benefits to the city of having a code where developers come in and know what they're getting when they start, and residents can come in, buy property, and know that their property is safe from any kind of predatory zoning or future development that they might not be able to anticipate. And there's an incredible amount of enthusiasm about it. Pass-Christian has really just been an amazing experience for me personally.
Good.
I've been involved with planning in some of the other cities on the coast as well, but to a lesser degree than with Gulfport and Pass-Christian. In Ocean Springs, I've been sort of peripherally involved, and I'm hoping to be involved a little bit more going forward in terms of education there in the process. Ocean Springs was less damaged than Pass-Christian and Gulfport, and so while they had substantial storm damage and they were very, very interested in zoning reform, the city was able to take a little bit more leisurely, or you might say more studied approach, and they're very, very interested in making sure that residents are brought fully along in the whole process and are aware of what's going on. So moving forward, we're going to be involved in some educational efforts there. Ocean Springs is sort of the no-brainer for SmartCode. It's such an obvious place for it, and it's a place where I think there's really no question that ultimately they'll have a really good SmartCode that continues to make it a great place to live and to do business. Other towns as well, Moss Point has been strongly interested, but has been hampered by the fact that, like a lot of the towns, there really hasn't been a lot of funding available in order to pursue zoning reform and improve zoning. As well, Long Beach, the town adjacent to Pass-Christian, one of the funnier things that we heard early on, I was invited to attend a planning commission meeting in Long Beach. They had questions. They were interested in SmartCode, but not sure they wanted to do it, so I showed up to answer questions. They asked very good questions and were amazingly interested in what they could do to better their town. One of the comments I heard at the time, and this was when we were in the sort of negotiation phase in Pass-Christian, and Pass-Christian natives were busy saying, "Look at Long Beach, they've got a McDonald's, what are we doing wrong?" When I went to Long Beach, the Long Beach residents were all saying, "Look at Pass-Christian, they've got a planning process, they know where they're going, they've got everything worked out, what are we doing? We're going the wrong way." So it was nice to see that there's a certain amount of looking at greener pastures across town lines everywhere on the coast. But ultimately, we believe at this point there will be at least 4 towns on the coast that have very strong smart codes in at least part of the towns. And right now, again, we're in Pass-Christian, we're sort of leading the way in terms of implementation. But we're really looking forward to being able to share our experience with other towns on the coast and make the coast in general a place where developers of quality buildings are welcome, and where people come and decide they really want to live because it's just an overall good quality of life.